This is the story of Shiori Kades, who, although she doesn't look like it, is Takuma Shinazaki's senpai at work. At the end of a meeting, Kades tells Takuma that he is doing a great job. He says it's no big deal, but he likes to be complimented by her. Kades stroking his head while he thinks how cute and small she is. The next day on his way to work, Takuma finds her meowing at a bush. She explains that she saw a cat jumping into the bush and was trying to call it. Kades describes what the kitten was like, and Takuma thinks she is describing herself at work. We meet the team leader, Chihiro Akina. Kades informs him that she has sent a proposal, although she is submitting it much earlier to make sure errors are corrected. Moments later, she complains that sitting for so long gives her back and shoulders pain, claiming that they are always heavy, although Takuma believes it is due to other reasons. Takuma mentions that a massage would be great, but then begins to fantasize about an erotic one. Having lost himself in his fantasy, he pretends that his shoulders hurt too and that he needs a massage. So, she offers to do it. Everything was going well, until she starts to say that his back is too big, and she doesn't know if her hands will be able to satisfy him. Later, Takuma rehearses for a performance. She comes up behind him and gives him some advice since she went through it. Takuma says that it is helpful to write on her hand the person's symbol and eat it, so she does him that favor. As she approaches her hand, she gets nervous and Takuma thanks her. After that, we meet Yamagishi and Hayakawa, whom Takuma has known since childhood, and that is why they get along so trustingly, making Yamagishi believe that they are a couple. Kades asks Takuma if he is very close to Hayakawa, and he explains how they met and agreed on everything, even work. Despite this, Kades is seen to be jealous and even claims to be envious, which surprises Takuma, who thinks she is jealous because of him, but Kades humbles him and says that she really wants to be friends with Hayakawa. So to help her with that, Takuma invites them both to lunch. The next day, they inform Kades that she has some mistakes in the document. Takuma is surprised that Kades never gets angry with others, but she explains that she won't get angry with someone who is sad about being wrong. She then takes the opportunity to tell Takuma that his reports have been incomplete lately and asks him to tell her about the things he is working hard on, because congratulating him is also part of her job. Later in the office, Kades brings Takuma a drink. He offers to pay for it, but she tells him that she is forcing him as a superior to accept it. She then offers to help him with the work, claiming that when they are done, she will abuse her power to buy him dinner. That's why they go out for dinner, and as they argue over who will pay for the meal, Kades gets cold. Takuma wastes no time in placing his sack on her, claiming that as a subordinate, he also wants to abuse authority. Kades feels warm thanks to his coat, but imagining that it's as if Takuma is hugging her, she can't take it anymore and gives him back the coat. Arriving at the restaurant and putting on his jacket, Takuma is able to smell her beautiful scent. So in order not to be embarrassed, he decides to take it off. Later, the two decide what they will eat. Kades ends up ordering a milk flan for dessert, and since Takuma won't order dessert, she insists that he order the same as her. Takuma takes the opportunity to thank her for helping him today and for the other day, as his presentation to the new employees was a success. Kades says that it is normal as a superior to help her subordinate, but tells him that it is not necessary to force himself to work overtime like today. After that, they begin to eat, and the next day, Takuma finds her meowing in the bush again. She happily tells that she heard the cat meow a while ago, so Takuma makes the sound of a cat when she does it. Excited, she thinks the cat answered her. But when she realized that it was Takuma who made the sound, she became very nervous, and as a punishment, she will call him Takuma Kitty all day long. Chihiro watched happily as they interacted, and Hayakawa was passing by too. Back with these two, Takuma must now respond like a cat to everything Kades says to him. The next day, Kades is given some biscuits to share with her classmates. On the way, she sees Takuma and approaches him. In front of him, she asks him if he prefers bears or rabbits. Takuma says bears. Then she gives him a bear-shaped biscuit. Kades reveals that she was thinking of handing them out later, but in a special way, Takuma can eat one first. He just must not tell the others. Later, Chihiro runs into Takuma and Shiori during a dubious situation after Kades drops his pen, and not only he but also Hayakawa sees them. Then Chihiro, seeing how the two interact, wonders if it is normal for a superior and a subordinate to get along so well. It occurs to him that more than work colleagues, they seem partners, yes, so he asks them to find a new restaurant for a business lunch, which they both agree to. On the way to the dinner, Chihiro follows them. believing that with the good atmosphere in the restaurant, the two of them will get closer. While fantasizing about a dose of sweetness, Hayakawa appears. He assumes that she follows Takuma because she likes him, but this is not the case. After a while, Hayakawa has no choice but to accompany Chihiro as they follow Takuma and Katis. We discover that Chihiro has managed to get a couple's table for the two of them, and Hayakawa wonders why he puts so much effort into this, to which he replies that he enjoys watching couples come together. For a brief moment, Katis leans on Takuma to get a better view, making him nervous. When it gets late, Takuma jokingly admits that he is disappointed, as he had hoped to spend a little more time with her. He is perplexed while Katis blushes deeply after hearing that, and the one who is happier is Chihiro. After that, Takuma accompanies her to the station. The next day, Hayakawa passes Takuma and notices that he is carrying an umbrella. We found out that he was carrying the umbrella because he saw on TV that it was his lucky item. Coincidentally, Katis runs out of an umbrella when it starts raining, so Takuma proposes to share the umbrella with her. Who is in control of this rain? Chihiro? He tries to talk to her on the way home. As he finds the silence uncomfortable, she tells him that there is no need, as she enjoys the quietness of the silence and laughs that whenever everyone is quiet in the meeting, it is Takuma who tries to break the silence. Katis says she would like to stop at the bookshop on her way home. He offers to give her the umbrella for the trip home, but Katis reveals that she always had one. Katis is a little worried when Takuma calls in sick the next morning. So when she gets off work, she pays him a visit and offers to cook him a meal despite his fever. Takuma was happy later. They both eat and she even offers to do his laundry, proving that she can be able to act like an older sister. Then we see a flashback in which, while Katis was shopping, she happened to come across a book of a recipe for curing a cold. This was Chihiro's doing. Takuma wants to give Katis something as a thank you gift, so he turns to Hayakawa, who suggests he give her an apron, something nice to wear that will make her think of him. On impulse, he ended up buying it, but he knows it will be quite a complex thing to deliver. Katis is very happy when he approaches her with the package and asks if it means she can visit his house again. Takuma lets her know that he would be happy for her to visit him again. Then Chihiro offers to take the afternoon off. Days later, we meet Yusuke from the Public Relations Department. He talks to Takuma and tells him that he feels his heart is still in the weekend, even though it is Tuesday. Hayakawa tells him to cut the crap and concentrate on work. Amidst his complaints, Katis arrives to ask Takuma if he has plans for lunch. He replies that he will have lunch with Yusuke, which she accepts and says to have lunch together another day. Later, Chihiro tries to play Cupid again, talking to Takuma, telling him about how Katis was delighted that he worked for her. She listens to the conversation and looks embarrassed. As they keep talking about the past, we go to a flashback. Takuma introduced himself to everyone, and his first impression of Katis was how cute she was. She looked very excited. Takuma had very high expectations of this company after seeing Katis. However, when he started work, her expression changed and she stared at him. At one point, Takuma needed the network password, but wondered if it would be good to ask Katis for help and imagine the scenarios. So he decided to check the instructions, but surprisingly for him, Katis immediately told him the password. Katis admits that at the time, she didn't know how to react. She looked like this on the outside, but inside like this. Back in the flashback, Takuma thanked her for her concern, which caused Katis's tenderness meter to rise. All this because she was excited to have her first subordinate, while it was Takuma's first time having a superior. Back in the present, Chihiro treats them to dessert, and the next day, we see Takuma and Katis walking together. On the way to the office, Katis gets excited by some cute stuffed animals, and they both come to the conclusion that these animals look like each other. Katis makes Takuma nervous, causing him to say that she looks quite feline and is quite the kitten. She, considering the other stuffed animal, would say that it is 99% Takuma. Then he asks her if she wants him to get her a stuffed animal. Katis mentions that Nyatero, the company's mascot, is very cute. Takuma confesses that there are many Nyatero items in his house, and that he started to like cute things because of her influence. After a while, Takuma tries to get the stuffed animal, but at the first attempt he fails. But she encourages him, and when he sees her smile, he is sure that he wants to protect that smile. On the second attempt, Takuma fails again, but Katis tells him that she can put in some more money. Then he finally manages to get not one, but both stuffed animals, which makes her very happy. She says she wants to make the two stuffed animals be together so they won't be lonely, and Takuma begins to fantasize, remembering that she said the stuffed animal looks like him. Surprisingly, she gives his name to the stuffed animal. Takuma accepts, but for that, she will have to give her name to the other one, which she accepts immediately. Kades thanks him for getting the stuffed animals, but it's time to get back to work, where Yamagishi asks Hayakawa and Takuma for ideas for a Nayatero dating game. Kades arrives shortly after, and Yamagishi asks her for her opinion on Nayatero's game. She is excited at first, but faints when she realizes that she has humanized Nayatero on the game. Later, Yamagishi asks them to tell their romantic anecdotes to use as a guide in the game. But Kades hasn't had a boyfriend, Takuma hasn't had a girlfriend, let alone Hayakawa, but at least she met a guy in the company offices. So we see the flashback, where the said prince turns out to be Chihiro, who helps her with her shoe and wished her luck in the interview. Hayakawa wondered if Chihiro worked here, and was surprised to see that he was one of those who would be interviewing her. Hayakawa doesn't tell the boys many details so that they don't find out that this is about Chihiro. At home, Kades looks at the stuffed animals and remembers Takuma, which makes her blush, and she even put a tie on the one called Takuma. After getting out of the bath, still nervous, Kades thinks that maybe she should have left the stuffed animal that reminds her of Takuma somewhere else. But when she moves it, the stuffed animal that represents her ends up on top of it, which causes her to have a scene in her head. Then she puts the two of them together and says that she's just a superior who gets along with her subordinate. Yeah, right? After that, we see how Hayakawa is about to attend an otaku event, which is being held in the city. But she gets quite angry about how far away the event is being held and complains about the inconvenience this brings. Soon after, Chihiro runs into her, the problem. Hayakawa is cosplaying, and now her boss has just discovered that she is an otaku. Hayakawa tries to pretend to be someone else, but gives herself away by calling him boss. She was dying of embarrassment, for of all people, she had to run into her normie boss. Chihiro asks her where she got those clothes. She replies that she made them herself, but begins to think that Chihiro will find them disgusting. But to her surprise, he tells her that it's very cool, as he doesn't have any hobbies, and seeing people who do is something he finds admirable. Finally, he tells her that these clothes are very nice, which makes Hayakawa blush a lot, and then she begs him not to tell anyone else. He's surprised because as cool as she looks, he'd like more people to know, but she insists they keep it a secret. Seeing her like this, Chihiro again says that he thinks she is pretty, but not just her clothes, but her. That same night, we see Hayakawa drawing a manga manuscript, but she can't concentrate with everything that has happened. The next day, Takuma and Kades notice that Hayakawa looks exhausted while working, and soon after, Chihiro unexpectedly invites her to dinner. While getting ready, Hayakawa tries to convince herself that this is not a date in the evening. He tells her that he would like to accompany her to an otaku convention, which surprises Hayakawa. He also wants to photograph her cosplaying. She tells him that he could photograph any cosplayer, but he makes it clear that he wants it to be her, so she ends up agreeing, but rather embarrassed. The next day, Chihiro and Kades bring up the friendship between Takuma and Hayakawa. Then the issue of labor relations comes up. Takuma and Hayakawa meet for lunch. She tells him that the director found out she is an otaku. However, she feels fortunate that he is unaware of her obsession with the BL manga series. However, Chihiro and Kades, who were sitting at the table behind them, had been listening, and now they have joined them and Chihiro asks what BL means. The next day, Takuma is surprised when Kades wishes him happy Halloween and gives him some sweets. Then Chihiro, who also has cat ears, wishes happy Halloween to Hayakawa. She is embarrassed when he forces her to wear them and wanted to take them off, but in the end she could not. Takuma and Kades enjoy sweets together. She opens her mouth and asks Takuma to give her one to eat. Embarrassed, he tries to feed Kades, but as he is late, he runs out of time. Kades says she suddenly feels very hot. She then smothers Hayakawa with kisses as soon as she enters the room, and Chihiro takes pictures of them doing it. It turns out that one of the sweets Kades ate had alcohol in it, which is why she is like this. Takuma is nervous that she will kiss him, but Kades acknowledges his boss's dedication to his work. At the end, Kades looks at Takuma, remembers his early days in the company and rejoices in his achievements, then gives him a hug. Chihiro thinks this is an excellent opportunity to ask Kades what she thinks of Takuma as a person. She blushes heavily and says she's not sure. Later, Kades and Chihiro discuss how they plan to contribute to the office Christmas party. Takuma overhears their conversation and comes to the conclusion that Kades loves Christmas. And as he has no plans, he tells himself that if he comes to the office, he can still see her. Kades tells that because he works hard, she will give him very good presents. But realizing how she was acting, she feels ashamed. On the other hand, Chihiro asks Hayakawa if she will dress up as a Santa Claus. Later, Kades and Takuma attend a meeting with a client, and after finishing, they come across a shop selling sleepwear. He thinks about how adorable she would look in bunny clothes, while she thinks about how cute he would look in bear clothes. Seeing that she thinks this way, she gets very nervous because she doesn't know why she thinks these things. When Takuma tells her that she would look like the stuffed animal in those clothes, Kades imagines the two of them wearing their respective pajamas on top of each other. Despite their embarrassment, they both wonder what the other would look like in those clothes. After that, they come across two Nyanantubers who think they are a couple. When Kades explains that they are not, the girl begs her to pretend they are for her video. Kades agrees when the girl tells her that they have few viewers. But first she has to think about how to act like this, as she has never had a partner. After a while, we see how the two pretend to be a couple and answer questions for the video, Takuma acting quite well, provoking Kades's nerves, who imagined what it would be like if they were real boyfriend and girlfriend. At one point, the girl asks them to kiss, then, surprisingly, Kades grabs Takuma and appears to kiss him. What they didn't know was that on the same day, the video would become popular, making Kades feel totally embarrassed. The next day, co-workers ask them if they are dating, but Kades and Takuma clarify that they are not and feel very embarrassed. A few days later, Christmas finally arrives. Kades, Takuma, Chihiro, and Hayakawa have fun at the office party. When Takuma sees Kades walking alone to the station after the party, he asks her if he can accompany her, to which she excitedly replies yes. They have a great time walking together. This year it was Chihiro's turn to dress up as Santa, but Takuma hopes that next year it will be Kades's turn. Kades then asks him if he has any plans for Christmas. So when he says no, she tells him to go for a walk before returning home. So then we see the two of them walking together, visiting the huge Christmas tree. It's the first time Kades has come to see it, and she's glad it was with him. They are both glad that they were able to spend Christmas together, after which they both talk about the Christmas presents they remember in a special way. Kades then realizes that Takuma has no gloves, so she gives him an extra pair, but they are too small, so she promises that next year she will come better prepared. Yes, they unwittingly made plans for the other year. After spending more time together, they exchange gifts. She gives him the bear pajamas, and he gives her the bunny pajamas. Takuma lets slip that he would like to see how they fit. Then she embarrassedly asks if they should show each other what they look like. At the same time, we see Chihiro and Hayakawa spying on them, who are discovered because Chihiro had the flash on. The two tell Takuma and Kades about what they heard and embarrass them, in the middle of which Kades says she wants to exchange numbers with Takuma. Chihiro and Hayakawa also exchange numbers, and soon after, it starts to snow. At home, Kades puts on her pajamas, but they are too short. Then she picks up the teddy bear and thinks about Takuma. We then see that Takuma has a dream in which Kades orders him to deliver presents dressed as Santa Claus. Things were about to get a little more intense, but to his bad luck, he wakes up. Chihiro sends him a text message at precisely the same time and tells him it was just a dream. Did this guy even plan this? The next day, Takuma and Kades learn that Hayakawa needs someone to help her finish the manuscript she has been working on for some time. Then, with a smile, Chihiro offers to help. She tells him that he doesn't have what it takes, but it seems that he is also capable. So in the evening, they both work together to finish the manuscript on time. It should be noted that she drew a BL plus 18 doujin, but only sent Chihiro the normal scenes. Or so she thought, because in reality it was quite the opposite. Later on, Chihiro is proud of the work they did, and they even try to sell it. A friend of Hayakawa's arrives who thinks that Chihiro is her boyfriend, but she explains. Then it's back to Kades. The year is almost over, and she plucks up the courage to express her gratitude to Takuma for all he has achieved, claiming that she was able to work harder because of him. The two commit to continue working together next year, at which point Chihiro sends a message to Takuma to go to the temple together. Does he have cameras everywhere? After that, we meet Takuma's sister, Yutaka, who has been noticing significant changes in him for some time and assumes that his superior is his girlfriend. Later on, we see that Takuma comes across Kades in kitten version. He starts caressing her until he almost dies of tenderness. She provocatively approaches him to kiss him, but just at that moment he wakes up. Yes, another dream, and again Chihiro was there. Alongside this, we see that Kades had exactly the same dream, but from her point of view, which made her excessively nervous, and like Takuma, Chihiro told her that it was just a dream. Confirmed, Chihiro pulls all the strings in the series. After that, we see how Yutaka notices the changes in her brother's attitude, which leads her to think that he definitely has a girlfriend. And she even gives him a test, which leads her to discover that Takuma's girlfriend is the smiling, kittenish type. The next day, Takuma goes to the shrine and meets Kades and the others, unaware that Yutaka is following him. Takuma is unable to take his eyes off Kades, not least because they both remember the dream they had. Yutaka looks at Kades from a distance and immediately recognizes her as her brother's girl, so she takes the opportunity to give her a hug from behind. Kades is surprised when Yutaka praises her looks and even wants to take her home. Yutaka introduces herself to Kades and Chihiro speaks highly of Kades and Takuma. After Kades embraces Yutaka, she asks Takuma when they plan to have the wedding. Takuma apologizes to Kades. He says that he doesn't get along with Yutaka at all because he likes the same things, so Kades was about to ask him if that means he likes her, but Yutaka interrupts them to say that she will be the one to give the speech at the wedding, but Chihiro also wants to, so they argue about it. After a while, Chihiro caresses Hayakawa and tells her that she is small and adorable to him. While Yutaka was still planning the wedding, after that, they enter the temple. Takuma and Kades explore the temple event. She even gets so excited that she holds his hand, which embarrasses her. After that, they meet a little lost girl and Kades shows her maturity and reassures the little girl to help her find her parents. Yutaka and Chihiro talk about their relationship, while imagining both of them having a little daughter in the future. The other day, they return to work. Kades notices that Takuma looks a little smaller, then asks him if he is able to notice what she is wearing. Takuma begins to examine her and thinks maybe it's the scent. Asking her if she changed shampoo, she tells him it's not the case and Takuma fears she will brand him as a pervert. But not so. Kades starts to give hints, telling him to take a good look at her body, which embarrasses her. Seeing that he couldn't guess, she tells him that she's grown up a bit more, referring to the new pair of boots she has. Takuma notices but thinks there isn't that much difference in height, which makes her a little disappointed. After that, Ishiyama from Public Relations approaches Takuma with requests for work that go beyond what Kades has approved. She arrives just in time to defend him, thwarting his attempts at persuasion, though he doesn't give up and tries for mail, but Kades again intervenes. In the evening, we learn that Ishiyama repeats the same trick with Hayakawa, forcing her to do unpaid overtime. Chihiro tells her that she should not take on other people's jobs without warning, because they may take advantage of her kindness. Chihiro says he will talk to Ishiyama about it. Chihiro invites her to dinner and later, they catch up on their romantic lives. Hayakawa is interested to know if Chihiro likes someone in the company. He tells her that when he was a boy, he didn't understand what it felt like to like someone. He dated many girls but never found love, so he feels that the day will never come when he will be able to talk about his romances. At that moment, they realize that Yutaka was there, and so they all hang out. Yutaka clearly asks Chihiro to send her pictures of Kades. One Sunday morning, Takuma notices that he feels heavy and wonders if he is suffering from sleep paralysis. Yutaka, who wants to get more pictures of Kades, was sitting on top of him to wake him up. Yutaka has shown an obsession with Kades from the moment she met her and hopes that Takuma will end up dating her. However, Takuma has yet to take any action in response to her insinuations. In fact, he doesn't even have pictures of Kades on his phone. Takuma remembers the time he talked to Kades and thinks it would be great to have pictures of the two of them together, but wonders if he should ask for them. Yutaka takes his mobile phone from him and sends a message to Kades telling her that he would like to have a picture of her on his phone. Takuma becomes very nervous when she reveals that she has already sent a message to Kades. Kades finds it hard to accept that Takuma has sent her such a message, then heads to the shower to take a bath before sending him a photo. However, when she returns, Takuma has already apologized and explained that it was Yutaka who sent her the message, but she was going to do it, wasn't she? To his surprise, Kades responds by asking him if he is sure he doesn't want a photo of her. This makes Takuma simply freeze up with nerves. On the other hand, seeing that there was no response, Kades looks like she will send him a selfie, but then dies of embarrassment at the thought of it. Takuma then apologizes and tells her that he is busy now, then tells Yutaka that she will have to apologize to Kades for the inconvenience. Yutaka writes to Kades and sends several photos of Takuma. He worries about what she will think of him the next day, but when he passes her on the street, he is surprised by how normal she acts. To avoid being asked for separate photos, Kade suggests that they pose together. Chihiro sneaks up on them from behind some bushes and takes the opportunity to take their picture. Before the photo, Kade lets Takuma know that this for some reason makes her heart race. Shortly after, Hayakawa and Chihiro join the photo and send it to Yutaka. Hayakawa reveals her desire to travel somewhere with hot springs after the holiday. She wants to have fun because she hasn't been able to do so all break, so she convinces Kade that traveling together would be an excellent plan. So the two decide to make the most of their time together and go on holiday. To no one's surprise, Chihiro and Takuma decide to travel with them too. So we go there, the four of us showing up at a hot spring lodge at the end of the month. Kade tries to interact with some kittens, but she is strongly ignored, which makes Takuma realize that although she likes cats, he has never seen her touch one. Everyone is excited, more Takuma, who wants to see Kade in a swimming costume. She arrives shortly after and Takuma is surprised. She is a bit embarrassed that Takuma sees her. When it comes to entering the water, Kade is hesitant because she remembers an accident as a child that still terrifies her to this day. But Takuma tells her that it will be okay if she goes in with him, so she does. Takuma tries to teach her to swim by avoiding concentrating on the pair, but Takuma ends up being dangerously close to drowning when he suffers cramps. Kade bravely tries to save him, but during the struggle, Takuma removes her bra, which leads to an embarrassing moment for both of them. The two cannot see each other's faces until much later in the evening as a result. While in the hot spring with Hayakawa, Kade decides to regain her honor in the presence of her subordinate. She is quite determined to achieve this goal, but in the end she gets very drunk at dinner. For that reason, Kade is barely in her right mind. Even though Hayakawa and Chihiro sit nearby, she pays little attention to them. She gets very close to Takuma and also flirts with him. Hayakawa remembers what Kade said earlier and tells Takuma that she wants him to see how capable she is. But now Kade is drunk like this, it makes Takuma happy in a way, but he doesn't know how to react. He asks Hayakawa for help, but both she and Chihiro take advantage of the situation to leave them alone. Takuma is aware that they do this on purpose. Takuma decides to play along with Kade until she falls asleep, after which she asks him to rest on her lap while she brushes his teeth. All Takuma tries to do is keep his wits about him. Soon after, he gets very sleepy, so she decides to sleep with him. They both stare at each other, but Takuma can't take it any longer, and as he is about to leave, Kade gets on top of him so that he can't escape. Takuma knows that if Chihiro and Hayakawa come back and see them like this, there will be a misunderstanding, so he must avoid it at all costs. When these two return, they are nowhere to be seen. It turns out that Takuma went into the wardrobe with Kade in the hope that these two will leave soon. Hayakawa looks for something in her luggage. Takuma makes an effort to keep quiet, but Kade continues to drunkenly taunt him. This soon causes them both to turn towards the wardrobe. More than ever, Takuma tries to keep silent. At that moment, Kade stands up and hugs him. Making more noise, Takuma even touches her chest unintentionally. Kade even tries to come out of the wardrobe, but comes out covered in a blanket, which scares Hayakawa. Fortunately, they leave and they were not seen. Kade falls asleep. Then he takes her to bed and tells her that it made him happy to see more of her. And while she is asleep, Kade clings to him. At that moment, Chihiro, Hayakawa, and the hotel owner enter the room because she said there was a ghost. But all they see is Takuma on top of Kade, so Chihiro calls Yutaka to make the wedding preparations, while Takuma explains the situation. After that, we see Takuma and Kade in a somewhat complex situation, in a very cramped place. They happen to come across two employees making love, so they were trapped in the basement. But how did they end up here? Well, let's go to the flashback at work. Chihiro summons them both to retrieve some old Nyatero supplies from the basement. At the beginning, everything was normal, although it seemed difficult to find something 30 years old. Kade finds a Nyatero box and gets excited because she had one. Then Chihiro warns them that maybe what they are looking for is on the bottom shelves. In the office, Hayakawa noticed that Chihiro was smiling too much, to which he says he senses something big is coming. Back with these two, when they went to the back shelves, two rather affectionate employees came in. Kade had heard the rumors about these two, but never expected anything like this. But things took a turn for the worse when these two decided to go off the deep end. Because of this, Kade and Takuma had to hide. Back in the present, Kade lets it be known that being in a situation like this doesn't bother her if it's with him. Then, to prevent anything from falling, Kades ends up getting very close to Takuma, touching him with her breasts. Moments later, Takuma thinks to use the office chat to get out of there. However, Kades reveals that upon entering the locker, she put her phone in her back pocket. So she asks Takuma to take it out, which eventually causes them to get closer. But after a while, they manage to get rid of the pair. Although they leave there rather blushing, they found the product they were looking for, so they hurry back. Chihiro could somehow sense what happened. As they tried to sleep, none of them could stop thinking about what happened, which resulted in them not being able to sleep all night. Besides, it's hard for them to even see each other's faces, and Chihiro has noticed them as strangers since yesterday, so he assumes there has been a breakthrough. Again, Takuma is unable to sleep, and Yutaka has heard from Chihiro that there have been developments with Kades. She is even able to smell Kades's fragrance on his clothes and comes to the exact conclusion of what happened. At work, Takuma is still thinking about what happened, and even if it's an accident at work, if she feels the same way he does, then they should talk about it. This makes Kades start to wonder what he wants to talk to her about, and she even imagines that he will ask her to be his girlfriend. Yamagishi then tells Kades that the guy from before will be transferred for making out during working hours. Then she wonders if when there is an affair in the office, they always end up moving one. Then both Hayakawa and Yamagishi talk about how people change when they start dating. They give examples of people who are either too affectionate or too tough in front of others. When they go out with someone, Kades gets nervous when she imagines herself in such a situation with Takuma. When Yamagishi asks Hayakawa what her ideal man looks like, she thinks of Chihiro. Then the three of them are interrupted by the girl from before, whose name is Aitu, who confirms that it is true that men change with a woman, but it is the same with girls. Then her boyfriend arrives and they have a romantic scene, all of which leaves Kades wondering if she and Takuma would be like that too. Later, we see Takuma determined to finally tell Kades everything, and soon after, she arrives. Kades tells him at once to always be superior and subordinate who get along well, because she doesn't want them to look like Aitu and her boyfriend. Hearing this, Takuma had to backtrack and lie to her that this is exactly what he wanted to tell. After that, we see a short film in which suddenly becomes Isekai and Takuma is the Demon King and Kades is the magical girl. From this, it stands out that at one point, Takuma looks at Kades with very little clothes on. Then we continue to see a bit more about this Isekai, where among other things, the previous Demon King, Chihiro, gets a job at the magical girl and spies on her, to reveal to Takuma that Kades likes honest people. But let's get real, because an event commemorating the company's 40th anniversary is about to begin. The new employees have the chance to win a trip to Okinawa for their entire department, and as Takuma is clearly a new hire and wants to see Kades in a swimming costume, she and the others support him. Later, Yusuke says he will not participate in the event because he doubts he will be able to enjoy the trip with his team. Instead, he tells Takuma that he is very lucky as he has an amazing superior and boss. He feels jealous because even though they are both new and earn the same, there is a lot of difference. He wishes he had a superior like Kades. Then, she starts asking him if there is something between them. Then this girl comes up behind Takuma's back. That's Kirusu. Yusuke tells Takuma to be careful, as Kirusu is the star rookie and the favorite to win the new employee competition. She tells them that they shouldn't waste their time talking about breasts, but Yusuke says that between Takuma and his superior it's okay because they love each other. Then, Kirusu accuses Kades of abusing her position. For her, the office is not a love clinic. Soon after, this woman, Shinobu, Kirusu's superior, appears, who is quite charismatic, and they get along very well. Shinobu introduces herself to Takuma. She tells him that she is from the same class as Chihiro. She says that in the beginning, she and Chihiro competed with each other, but his talent was overwhelming, and he swept everything, so she was not able to keep up with him. But without realizing it, she rose faster than anyone else in the company, and Chihiro ceased to have notable achievements. But she remembers that at that time they competed and made each other better. Then she talked to the president, and they agreed that if Kirusu won the competition, Chihiro will be transferred. Clearly, Takuma feels more motivated to win in the competition, while Kades and Chihiro are very relaxed. The next day, Kades, Takuma, and the others visit a group of children because they have been given the task of observing the children's reactions to various toys. At this point, Takuma still hasn't said anything to Kades about Chihiro's transfer if he doesn't win the contest. In the midst of all this, Takuma fantasizes about Kades, imagining her as a wife, just as she thinks of him as a husband. Soon after, the two find themselves in the middle of a passive-aggressive fight between two small children. After separating them, the girl wants to play mommy and daddy, and we know who they will be. This was something like a vision of the future. The girl even tells Kades that she will be the kitten, and soon after, she lies down on Takuma's lap and he must pet her. The boy is upset again, and Takuma knows that the boy's behavior is a consequence of his feelings for the girl. So Takuma brings them both together and then tells the boy that if he likes the girl, he should treat her kindly. On the return journey, Kades reflects on Takuma's words to the boy. After some thought, she comes to the conclusion that Takuma, who has always been extremely kind to her, must also have feelings for her. Later, we see Kades singing a song about cats. Takuma surprises her while she is singing, and so that she doesn't feel uncomfortable, sings with her. Later, Takuma seems worried about losing the prize in the new employee competition. If they don't win, Chihiro's job is at stake, so their anxiety levels are sky high. Seeing him like this, Kades does what she did before with her hand, then calms him down by telling him that it's okay if something goes wrong, since it's a rookie competition for a reason. Takuma thinks she's assuming she won't be able to win, after which we see Kurusu working alongside Shinobu. She tells her that she must make one last effort by placing an image of the final product in the document. Takuma feels more cheerful after Kades' words, but as he comes out of the bathroom, he bumps into Kurusu and notices that she is crying. Later, Takuma tells Kades about Kurusu and says that, like him, she must feel pressured, so he asks her to talk to her for a while if she sees her. So later, Kades bumps into her, and although Kurusu initially refuses, Kades sits down next to her. Kades notices that she has a Nyaitaro 20th anniversary coin purse, as she also has one. It was there that Kurusu opened up more to her, as they have a common taste. Moments later, Kurusu asks her if there is any kind of work she is not good at. She replies that there are many, then embarrassed, Kurusu asks if that looks like any Nyaitaro she knows. It so happens that Kurusu sucks at drawing, but she doesn't want to disappoint Shinobu, so she asks Kades to help her meet expectations. She tells her to say honestly that she can't do it, as that is also part of the job, and besides, no one could criticize someone who has done her best. Following Kades' advice, Kurusu talks to Shinobu the next day and shows her what she did. Shinobu hugs her and tells her that she has not failed her and apologizes for pushing her. Then Shinobu tells the others in the department to help Kurusu, and now she is finally motivated. Kades is surprised that Takuma has been so kind, even though he also feels overwhelmed. Finally, the day of the contest arrives and Takuma is dressed as Nyaitaro, a costume that Hayakawa made. Takuma notices that Kades seems more nervous than he is. Then Kurusu appears to tell Takuma that she will make her presentation before him. Takuma encourages her, and she thanks him because Kades told her that he was worried about her, but makes it clear that they will win and keep Chihiro. Hearing that, Kades wonders what she means by taking Chihiro away, so Takuma tells her. She gets angry, as it is something he should have told her earlier, but Chihiro already knew, and Takuma apologizes to her for not telling her, but makes it clear that he will not lose. After Kurusu finishes, it's the turn of Takuma's team, who is introduced as Super Friend Nyaitaro, and explains how they came up with the idea. In the midst of all this, a bunch of women ask to hug Nyaitaro after the presentation is over, and clearly Kades gets jealous. After the presentation is over, Kades, believing that it is Takuma inside the costume, asks to hug him too, but Nyaitaro runs away. Soon after, we see Takuma appear, and we see that the one in the disguise is Chihiro. This embarrasses Kades very much. The winner of the contest is revealed in the last minutes of the show. First, they announce the second place winners, Takuma and Kurusu. Both teams were tied for second place. Goodbye Okinawa and Kades in a swimming costume. Kurusu begins to cry uncontrollably, but Shinobu tells her that nothing is wrong and that by being so focused on the contest, she forgot about wanting to bring Chihiro. But who is the first place? Surprisingly, the Ishiyama team, who did nothing special and still won. Later, Yusuke comes across Kurusu talking on the phone with a rural accent. She is embarrassed and tells him to forget what he saw. But Yusuke tells her that there is nothing to be ashamed of, claiming that he would like to talk like that. After leaving the competition, the boys are congratulated, but then we see Kades inviting Takuma to do bad things with her. But don't get too excited, guys, because she's only invited him to eat ramen. Takuma was confused by her words, and she asks him what he thinks she meant by what she said. On the way out, she congratulates him on the competition and tells him that this was a reward for his efforts. Takuma wonders whether their relationship will always be one of superior and subordinate. After that, they overhear a woman saying that people who eat ramen at night are people with high libido, which embarrassed both of them a lot, and they start making excuses like they just wanted to drink tea. The next day, Chihiro asks Hayakawa out on a date. Chihiro accepts that it is a date when Kades jokes about it, making Hayakawa feel embarrassed and blush too much. But they both begin to smile when they see that Kades and Takuma will also go out together. Later, Yu Yusuke returns from Okinawa, but a bit differently. Although he brought back some memories, he lies that he had a lot of fun. Next, Yamagishi asks Takuma if they can talk about Nayataro's dating game, which is almost ready. She wants Takuma to try the game. The basis of the game is that you are a girl and you try to conquer the boy. Soon after, they are joined by Kurusu, who is excited to hear about the game, but is discouraged to see that it is a humanized Nayataro, so she dislikes it, claiming that it has not a shred of the original charm and that it will drive away the most loyal fans. There is a part of the game where the characters are on the roof alone. It brings back memories for both of them. It seems familiar. Even the dialogue also resembles things they would say, and in the game, the protagonist rejected the girl before she could propose. Kades realizes the situation and, remembering what happened on the rooftop, is mortified that she didn't mean to reject him. While on the other hand, Takuma assumes that Kades really did reject him that time. However, Yamagishi tells them that there is still time to go and they haven't declared, so they still have a chance. This excites them both, as they connect this to their relationship, even though Yamagishi was referring to the game. On the way out, Kades asks Takuma what he was planning to tell her the other day. He was wondering if their relationship will always be one of superior and subordinate. She replies that she wouldn't mind if that changed, claiming that they could be friends or something. They both talk about what it would entail to be close friends. Chihiro is happy that they got this excuse to get even closer. Now that they are friends, their routine is exactly the same. He wants to invite her to lunch, but can't find the time, while she bought new clothes and took pictures but doesn't know when to send them. They have never had friends of the opposite sex before, so they don't know how to act. Soon after, Hayakawa mentions that Golden Week is coming up. Both Takuma and Kades decide it's time, so the group decides to go to an amusement park for Golden Week, and the two begin to imagine the possibilities. However, in the end, the plan is abandoned, which frustrates both of them, but this doesn't stop Takuma, who asks Kades if she wants to go to the amusement park with him, which she gladly accepts. They both look for the clothes they will wear then at the amusement park. They both have a great time together. It is clear that they have managed to get closer to each other, but the kiss when. Kades suggests that they take a photo to commemorate the day, and soon after, Yutaka, Hayakawa, and Chihiro show up, supposedly just here to have fun, but we all know they are here to gossip. It got noisy at the end, but Takuma and Kades had a great time, although we'll have to assume they're going to be boyfriend and girlfriend in the future, because that's the end of the anime. So guys, if you liked this video, please like and subscribe so that you don't miss any other anime recap.